justice.
This video was made using a free program you can download from the internet. It's called Orion, and it shows all the stars and planets as they can be seen from anywhere in the world. In this case, I've set it to look at the stars from Hamilton, New Zealand, with the date of December 2013. If we look around, we can see clear sky in all directions. North, south, east and west are each marked with a big red letter. You can see the sun here, and the sun is in the west. The sun goes down in the west, so it must be just before dark, a good time to see the first stars appear.
If you look at the sky on a clear evening, you can see the stars appearing as the light from the sun fades. When it's really dark, you can see more stars, and you can recognize the Milky Way and some of the constellations or star patterns.
You might notice that the stars move during the night. We can see this movement clearly if we speed up the time. The turning of the Earth makes it look like the constellations and all the other stars move slowly across the night sky. The stars might look like they're moving, but it's really us moving. The Earth is slowly turning, giving us a different view of the stars.
We're looking towards the south now. You might notice this wide band of stars. This is the Milky Way. The Milky Way is not a constellation, but it's worth looking at first. The Milky Way is the wide fuzzy pathway of stars that you can see on a clear night. It's completely made up of stars. The Milky Way is actually our galaxy, a massive swirl of stars. We see it like this because we're actually inside it. We see it from the side or from the edge, as a big wide line of stars right across the sky. Most of the constellations are close to the Milky Way, so it's a good place to start when you're looking.
Once you can recognize the Milky Way, you can use it to find the constellations. A constellation is a pattern of stars as seen from here on Earth. You've probably heard of some of the constellations like Orion, Southern Cross and Matariki. The constellations you can see depend on where you are on Earth, so the ones we see from New Zealand are different to the ones that people can see on the other side of the world. This view is from Hamilton, but you'll pretty much see the same stars anywhere in New Zealand. The stars in a constellation are usually not actually connected in any way. Each star is billions of kilometers away from the other stars.
When you connect the dots, you can imagine it looks like an object, a person, or an animal. You can see that this is a cross, and up here we have what looks like a dog. Do you think this one looks like a rabbit? Next to the rabbit is a hunter, with his arm holding a club, his body here, and he's holding something in his hand here. Next to the hunter is one of the oldest constellations. Can you see the triangle face of the bull and his long horns here?
The constellations often have different names because they were seen by different cultures around the world. The constellations are usually named after gods, heroes, and magical creatures, and many of the cultures have stories about the characters drawn in the star patterns. Next, we'll look at some of the best ones to see from New Zealand. The Southern Cross is the most famous constellation for people living in New Zealand. We even have it on our national flag. You can see it all year round in the southern sky, although of course sometimes it's upside down. The constellation includes the 4 stars of the cross, but it's often drawn to include more stars. The 2 brightest stars to the left of the cross are usually called the pointers because they point to the cross. Māori have a few different names for the Southern Cross because it's been named by different iwi. In Tainui, in the Waikato, it's known as Te Punga, the anchor, and the pointers are the anchor's rope. It has many other names from different cultures in the Southern Hemisphere, and on astronomy websites you might see it called Crux. Orion is one of the best known constellations all around the world.
You can see it during the summer from New Zealand and other places in the southern hemisphere. Orion is known in Greek and Roman mythology as the hunter. In one story, one of the gods sent a scorpion to kill him. He smashed it with his club, but too late, it had already stung him and he died. Two of the stars in Orion, the ones at his shoulder and his leg or foot, are called Betelgeuse and Rigel. They are some of the brightest stars in the night sky. If you look at the belt where Orion carries his dagger, you can see 3 stars in a line. These 3 stars are the bottom of what is often called the pot. Finding Orion's belt in the night sky is a good place to start when looking for constellations. In Māori mythology, Maui fished up the North Island of Aotearoa as a giant fish, and he was so happy with his catch that he threw his hook up into the sky, where it created the constellation Te Mato a Maui. Te Mato a Maui is also known as Scorpius, the same scorpion that killed the hunter Orion. You can find Te Mato a Maui by going along the Milky Way from the Southern Cross and past the pointers. There's a big red star called Antares that marks the top of the hook, or the eye or heart of a scorpion.
Sagittarius is known as a centaur, half horse and half human from Greek mythology. In some legends, his father had changed into a horse to escape from his jealous wife. The arrow of Sagittarius points towards the star Antares, like he's lining up to kill the scorpion. The constellation of Sagittarius is also known as the centre of the Milky Way galaxy. Taurus is known as the bull. It was one of the first named constellations and was important in many cultures. The bull is often seen as a symbol of strength. The ancient Egyptians noticed that when the sun rose in the constellation of Taurus, this meant spring was beginning in their part of the world. You'll notice that the bull is upside down. That's just the way we see it from New Zealand. Taurus also includes the smaller cluster of stars called Matariki or Pleiades. If you look carefully, you can see the small cluster of stars in the bull's shoulder. This constellation is also known as Pleiades or the Seven Sisters. The name Matariki means tiny eyes or eyes of God. Matariki is also the name of the Māori New Year, which starts on or around the time when you can first see the constellation in the dawn sky, in late May or early June. At this time of year, you can see it come up over the northeastern horizon. Matariki is also known in New Zealand as Pleiades and has different names in other countries. In Japan, it's known as Subaru, and the constellation is used in the logo for Subaru cars.